Hey guys, I'm finally back. Thank you so much for being patient with me, and thank you to everyone who checked on me and asked me how the move was going. I really appreciate it, even if if I wasn't able to answer you directly. Hopefully, I got around to everyone eventually. Um, just a quick update, the move went very well. I mean, there was your typical moving drama, of course, but it went about as well as it possibly could have. And we did have a lot of help. We're all into the house, but of course, not everything is unpacked and put away yet, but we're getting there. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys being patient with me and allowing me to take some time off so I could deal with real life. I have been, monitoring what's going on, just not really been able to respond to it. And of course, the biggest thing that I did get a few asks about and some messages about is them wrapping up season 4 filming and Norman's post about it. So this kind of made me giggle, not me periodically refreshing your YouTube page. Ever since Norman Reedus dropped that season 10 Daryl still shot after wrapping Daryl Dixon season 4's last filming day, dying to see her reaction. Um, I actually don't know what the season 10 is about, but I do know that he did a post. So let's take a look at that. This was actually on X, I think. And we do know that he doesn't usually post directly on X. He either brings stuff over to repost from Instagram or, he might possibly have others who post on it on here for him. But he posted this that says last filming day today for Daryl Dixon. It's been such a joy for me to play this guy with all of you for this long. I feel really blessed. Truly, thank you. There's been other similar posts too that are kind of that he's, said I'm so glad to have played this character for 15 years and all of that. And I know that a lot of the fandom is wigging out about that and thinking that this is the end. Now, I didn't get too many messages about this, so I don't think that there's very many people in our fandom who are freaking out about it, which is good. I'm glad you guys aren't freaking out about this. Um, so let me just go through kind of what we noticed about this. I mean, first of all, I guess I need to state that this is not the end by any means. I think he's talking about the end of the show. He seems to have gotten along really, really well with the Spanish cast, and he's kind of sad not to be able to work with them anymore, I think. And so I saw one where he was holding a bottle of something and he was saying thanks for putting up with me and thanks everybody, it's been so great, and everybody was cheering, and then we've gotten a lot of people hugging. And so I think it's mostly that the cast that work together specifically on the spin-off really became very close and are just kind of sad that they're not going to be able to keep going. Now, when he says, he's played this character for 15 years and all of that, that does sound like he's talking about the entire series. I understand that. But we've already been told multiple times around Comic-Con by Gimple, by various members of the powers that be who make decisions, that this is not the end, that we are going to get more, that they have tons of stuff in production and that they're planning on. So I'm not at all worried that he's going away. People are saying Daryl's going to die, all of this. Now, what I will say is that me and my fellow theorists have discussed that maybe, possibly, we really won't see Beth in the spinoff. I really hope that we do, and that that's not the case. But it also could be that the spinoff is leading to her. And the thing is, I mean, I always go back to that first, voiceover in the first episode. It was Judith's voiceover saying, "You deserve to be happy too." So I have absolutely no doubt that this is leading him to his happy ending. But we just don't know how much of Emily or Beth we're actually going to see in the series. Hopefully, more than we think. Hopefully, she'll be in season 4 a lot. But if not, that still doesn't worry me. And in a way, this picture that he used, um, sort of reinforces that for me. Not that she won't be in it necessarily. I don't mean that. I just mean that it's leading to Beth. So when I saw this picture, I looked at it for about 5 seconds and I went, that picture is from them. That picture is from season 5. Not only is his hair shorter, but you can see his arm right here. This is when he's still wearing a sleeveless shirt. And I couldn't remember exactly where it was from, but I was thinking it was from them. And I knew it was from season 5. I was going, this is a familiar picture. I believe it was Okay, it was one of my fellow theorists. I don't know which one. And whenever I say a name, I always say the wrong one. But anyway, one of them said, "Oh yeah, that's from them when he eats the worm." And I went, "Ah, yeah, that's what it is. You're right." So we immediately recognized this is from the episode where the music box wakes up. This is when they're looking for water and we see Daryl eat the worm. This is that exact scene. And it's odd to me that he would use this picture for this post. If it's a final day of filming post, it's specifically final filming for the spinoff. Why not do something from the spinoff? Why not show a behind the scenes picture? Why not show him and his fellow castmates? Why not him and Melissa hugging? Why not? I mean, there's a million things he could have done to promote this. Why this picture from 10 years ago that, the general audience at least would think has absolutely no bearing on the spinoff, right? So to me, what he's telling us is that with the wrapping of the spinoff, we're finally going to get to the music box. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't see her in season four. This could have been a hint, even if she is in season four already, because he knows that the general audience doesn't know that. And another thing that I've been hearing from people a lot lately is that, I mean, even non-TDers, people who follow spoilers and such, is that a lot more of season four has been secret and filmed away from cameras than any of the last three seasons of the spinoff. So we've gotten a few things. We've gotten some spoilers and some, okay, this is where they're filming and things that they've given us, but there's a lot of it that we don't know what's going on, and we don't know very well what, I mean, we still don't know very well what the storyline is going to be, and that may be not abnormal because we're still quite a ways out from season four. We're not going to get it next week or anything. So, you might be like, of course, we don't know what the storyline is, but it seemed like for season three, we knew what it was pretty early. They were telling us what was going to be happening, that, um, they were going to meet these people after they got shipwrecked on the coast of Spain, and Daryl was going to go find this girl. And you know what I mean? Like we had that fairly early on, and we still don't know any of that yet. But I'm also being told, well, we're being given a lot about the military and Daryl being picked up by the military. Whoever this group is, we don't know if they're CRM or something else. But you guys, this makes me really happy because we've been saying since we figured out what the symbolism in Diverged meant that they were going to run into some military at some point. Remember, there were those military walkers on the tracks, and there was so much Beth symbolism around that. Okay, so we've been seeing a lot of this. I was sent this saying that Jimmy Smits is going to be in it. I hope that's true because I really like him, but that was another spoiler, supposedly spoiler that we got. And then there was this. Apparently, they are going to be filming in a hospital, and we honestly have no idea what's going on here. Um, so just to read this caption a little bit, if you zoom in, you can see the sign behind them. I mean, this one right here shows that it's a hospital or medical center. The writing is in English despite the show being filmed in Spain. We think this is because they're at a fake American military base. So why are Carol and Antonio in the waiting area? They heard a spoiler that baby Justina becomes pregnant and goes into labor. But again, that is completely unconfirmed. But the point is, we have a hospital storyline going on. And then now we have Norman posting a picture from season five to let us know, specifically the episode where the music box wakes up, to let us know that season four of Daryl Dixon has wrapped. If that doesn't strike you as a little bit suspicious, then I don't know what you're doing here. So then these are just more spoilers, and again, take them with a grain of salt because we don't know what they mean at all. Daryl ends up injured and alone in the forest in 406, which he is later retrieved by U.S. military from the base. It is my belief that he hallucinates during that time. Perhaps Laurent is one of his hallucinations. And then they go on to say the mystery of S4 filming is Laurent, because although two sources indicated that Louis would film last month, there was no evidence that he did. Perhaps it was in studio or simply very secret. Okay, so I don't even have the rest of that, but that's okay. Here's a couple of things about this. The first thing that jumps out at me, so she says that it is her belief that Daryl hallucinates. That means she doesn't know that for sure. So we don't know if the hallucination is a real thing. It might be, but it might not be. But the part where he ends up injured and alone in the forest, that immediately calls me back to 606, always accountable. So whatever is happening here, always accountable was probably a foreshadow of it. And there was a crap ton of Beth's symbolism in Always Accountable, right? So that just kind of makes me happy. Whatever's going on here, it's probably something that's been foreshadowed for a long time. Now, if he does hallucinate, okay, cool. But we also talked about, Gladriel Jones especially talked about how it wouldn't make sense for him to be hallucinating Laurent. Like, why would he do that? That ship kind of sailed when he hallucinated Isabel, and Laurent isn't anything that's very secretive. We know where Laurent is. He went back to America with the pilot, Ash, right? And it, if Daryl hallucinates him, okay, if that's part of the storyline, but there's no reason for them to keep that secret. That wouldn't be shocking to the audience. So that's not really tracking for us. But it is interesting. Maybe he hallucinates someone else, and maybe the hallucination isn't even a thing. There's no way to really know. I will say that headlines like this do not make things any better. The Walking Dead icon Norman Reedus says emotional goodbye to Daryl Dixon role after 15 years. Now, when you read the article, which is not particularly worth reading, they just basically say what he said in his posts, and they are extrapolating from what he said and assuming that he is talking about being done with the role. So again, that's a major assumption on their part. Now, this is exactly the kind of thing that might be run by the powers that be, that might be fed topics by the powers that be that we always talk about. But see, the powers that be wouldn't necessarily shut this down because they may have just told this outlet to run something about what Norman said about being done filming, and this is what they ran. You know what I mean? Which means it might not be exactly what the powers that be gave them, but they're sticking to the topic and the headline is their own. The other thing is that I've seen this kind of headline, which I'm absolutely positive was sanctioned by the powers that be in other seasons. So the one I always talk about is when we didn't know who Negan's victims would be yet. And I saw an article just like this. And it was from one of the outlets, I think it was from comicbook.com, where this is Facebook, so it's a little bit different. But even so, it was the one that basically said that Daryl would be Negan's victim and Abraham would become Rick's right-hand man and best friend. And literally the opposite was true. It was Abraham that died, and of course Daryl lived, right? But the point is, even the article, admitted it was speculation. We don't know who is going to be Negan's victim, but this is what we think is most likely. And 100%, the powers that be will sanction an article like that because they can point to it and say, we didn't say it was. It even says in there that it was speculation, so they were just wrong, but they're trying to get people all riled up about it, right? They want us to be all freaked out about maybe the show ending and Norman not playing the character anymore and all of that. So that's why they allow articles like this, but it is really frustrating to see because there's a lot of people in the general audience who are going to see this and believe the headline and are going to be truly shocked when some other show pops up and, Daryl's still in it. So I know that these have been floating around the internet, and yeah, I feel you that it's like so many epic eye rolls from me and for most of us, but there's not a whole lot we can do about it. So just keep in mind that we have been told multiple times that they are planning more, that there's a lot more story to tell, and, it's just the end of the spin-off. Another thing that I wanted to point out, because me and my fellow theorists were discussing it, and I thought it was a really, really good insight. If you look at them at the Music Box episode, we have this scene between Daryl and Maggie when he fixes the music box, right? And we've always read into that as, being a Beth thing. And in fact, that was one thing that was actually confirmed by Sonequa Martin Green. She was doing, I believe she did the, what do you call that? The commentary, right? On the DVDs, they used to have audio commentary on some episodes, and she did one of them. And during that scene, when Daryl gave Maggie the music box, she made some comment. I am paraphrasing, but she said something like, "Oh, he fixed little Beth." So it was confirmed by several of the actors that the music box was meant to represent Beth. And I think from there, between that and the walker that Maggie found in the trunk, I think we can extrapolate that it is meant to be a foreshadow, right? So we have Daryl fixing Beth, whatever that means, however that ends up showing up in the show. And then we have Maggie taking the music box separate from Daryl. And She tries to open it with Sasha, and then it doesn't work, right? After all of that, it still seems to be broken. And so they both start laughing and put it down. And then it's after that that Aaron shows up, and it kind of goes from there. And then, of course, after Aaron shows up is when the music box actually wakes up. But the point that I believe it was Gladriel Jones was making is that maybe we've already seen Daryl fix the music box. Maybe him fixing the music box was meant to be Daryl teaching Beth how to survive, and that happened back in season 4. And then the music box did not wake up next to Daryl, it woke up next to Maggie. And furthermore, when it woke up next to her, she was laughing, like actually full body laughing. We do not see that from Maggie very often, okay? We haven't seen her smile much at all since Glenn died. She's usually pretty grim, and I think that's the point. It's the character arc that she's on. So when I saw the first season of Dead City, I remember one of the biggest things that jumped out at me is just Maggie is not the most nurturing parent. She tends to be very harsh with her son, and that is why they have a strained relationship. But I think the whole point of Dead City is to see Maggie's arc, and I'm assuming at some point she and Herschel hopefully will mend their relationship. We don't know what that's going to look like in the next and final season of Dead City, but we have that going on, and I can't help but think if this theme about letting go of your dead that we have for the Daryl Dixon spinoff, that might apply to Maggie in the sense that she needs to finally let Glenn go. Of course, not in the sense that she would forget him or anything like that, but in the sense that she needs to let go of her grief and move forward with positivity, as we've seen Carol do, right? Just as Carol has let go of her dead so that she can move forward and be positive about the future and really start to live instead of just surviving. That's what Daryl needs to do, and maybe that's what Maggie needs to do too. And the only reason I bring that up is because we have definitely not seen that from her yet. We do not see her smile, much less laugh, in Dead City. She's very stoic and she's very kind of dark all the time because she is still going through this arc where she has things she needs to let go and things she needs to heal from. So all I'm saying is that I've been a little bit skeptical about seeing her in Dead City versus Daryl Dixon, Beth, I mean. Um, but if this season we finally see Maggie let go of her dead and finally move forward in a more positive way, that could be what was foreshadowed by her and Sasha laughing. And then, as I said, the music box woke up next to her, not next to Daryl. Now, does that definitely mean we're going to see Beth in Dead City and not Daryl Dixon? No. I mean, we could be reading too much into the detail and nuance of it, and we'll still see her by him. Or it could mean that. We just don't know. So I wanted to mention that too. Um, Whatever it ends up being, however she ends up showing up, we're just seeing more and more and more evidence that she's really close. Um, this picture that Norman posted on his post is just the latest evidence of that. He's telling us that there is a correlation between the end of season 4 of Daryl Dixon and the music box. That's what he's telling us. So stay tuned. Don't give up hope. It's coming. She's coming. But the closer we get to the end of Daryl Dixon, the less I think we might actually see of Beth. I do hope we see her. I do hope we see some of her. But I mean, if she's got this whole backstory to tell, we've got the missing 17 days that I've been going on and on about lately. We've got, seeing what's going on with her, where she's been all this time, what's going on with the CRM, how her and Daryl come back together. And then, of course, we want to see their relationship develop. They're not going to be able to do all of that in 8 episodes of Daryl Dixon when they're also trying to wrap up the Spain storyline. So even if we do see her, we're not going to probably see a ton of screen time with Beth, but the fact that he's putting this picture here shows that her story is coming, just probably not in the spinoff. And I do think it's interesting that the spinoffs are all ending. I feel like they are going back to a single series where they'll all come together. And that's why we're hearing about Andy being in talks to reprise his role as Rick. That's why we are getting that this is going to be the last season of Daryl Dixon and the last season of Dead City. Is it's all going to come back together. And I don't know exactly what made them wait for now. If it was just a matter of getting through a certain amount of story, or if I almost feel like there's some sort of legal deadline they had to get past before they could do this, before they could bring everyone back together. And now we're finally hitting that point. Just my opinion from what I'm seeing. That's kind of the sense that I'm getting, and hopefully we'll get more clarity on that. They do come out and tell us a lot of the legal stuff, but usually not until a ways after. So I hope at some point they'll give us some idea of why they chose now to shift from the spin-offs back into hopefully one main show. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. But I think it's really interesting to watch and to see what's going on. So that's all about all I have for today. I have a whole bunch of asks and a whole bunch of YouTube comments because I haven't gotten to them in the last week or two. So I will do more videos. We've got more coming, but I probably won't get another one out before Thanksgiving. So everyone who is going to celebrate it, have a wonderful and safe and fabulous Thanksgiving. And I will try to get at least one more video out before, well, probably over the weekend. Okay. So let me know what your thoughts about all of this are, and I will be back soon with more. Bye.